Okay, let me introduce Chukwudi Abuja, who is trying very hard to look like me. Good morning and welcome to
me and you, who's senior? Why they try to look like you?
You want to look young.
You'll be reported to the elders.
You want to look young.
They have wonderful palm wine in Ubulokiti, where he comes from. I'll be appeased only with kegs and kegs of palm wine. My darling Demola, how are you doing? Leave that boy alone.
Good to see you.
Same here.
All right.
How's the family doing?
They're doing great.
One day at a time.
I can see you are really bubbling this morning.
Let's begin on a business note. Okay. And I'm starting with the business NG. Race to 500 billion naira. Banks battle the clock. And just above it, you have that tiny red strip. Investors fear sell-off as Nigeria raises capital gains tax. That's on page 2. Above the nameplate, NAFDAC bans sachet alcohol small bottles from December 2025. That's on page 2 as well. And still on page 2, NUPRC sets December 1 start for 2025 oil licensing round. Right. Down the page, you have NNPC to undergo major shakeup to boost oil output. You also have Nigeria collects 55 trillion naira, borrows 152 trillion naira in 2 years. SMEs struggle. And finally, from the front page of the business NG, lottery law sparks showdown between Lagos and National Assembly. And that takes us to the leadership, which leads with this story. Capital gains tax. Stock market loses 4.64 trillion naira in 1 day. You get details of that on page 4. Above the nameplate, People's Democratic Party's November 15 convention faces growing uncertainty as another court stops meeting is on page 4. Kaduna governor advocates state-led strategy to combat insecurity is also on page 4. And to the last 4 by the left in boxes, Sanwo-Olu approves free health insurance for 5,000 vulnerable Lagosians is on page 22. Wike naval officers in face-off over Abuja land is on page 18. Political rivals, Governor Yusuf Ganduje exchange pleasantries is also on page 8. And finally, only 40% of Batch C prospective core members will attend orientation. Demola.
Okay, thank you, Victor. I have the Daily Trust newspaper, and just below the nameplate, why senators wanted to impeach Akpabio. Details of that story can be found on page 12. Lawyers, CSO knock Wike over altercation with soldiers. Details of that story can be found on page 5 on Daily Trust. Stock market loses 4.6 trillion naira, highest in decade. Details of that story can be found on page 25. No going back on convention. That's the major headline of the paper, Daily Trust. And that is, details of that story can be found on page 3. Travelers spend hours on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And 2 killed as Katsina communities protest over bandits' attacks. Details of the story can be found on page 6. 48 hours to World Cup playoff. Super Eagles boycott training. That's so sad. Chooks.
Look, 48 hours to
Yes.
World Cup playoffs.
Yes.
Super Eagles boycott training.
As a result of bonuses.
Allowances.
We are not in a good place concerning qualification. We had to go into playoffs. It's not straight qualification. So we need to count our teeth with our tongue, not just to reassert the number that is still 32 there. There are still 32 teeth, but to ensure that what people yearn for out there stands a chance of being, because there was a time football was like our second nature. When I remember, I don't know more than 3 names in the Super Eagles, as we mentioned. Okay, Victor Sime, Moses, Nwabama, Nwabali. I don't know the rest. But I can reel out the Shegu Digbami series. It tells you something. It's not because it was my time. It was because they made profound impact. And Nigeria was made proud. So let these young people also walk in those footsteps, and it's going to help. I'm not saying that
maybe they should just look into their case.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm not saying
because they know that when you cross this stage, it's farewell to it. You probably will never hear about it again.
No. I
don't think so.
You know, everything boils down to management of situations. I was just reading why lawmakers, why senators wanted to impeach Akpabio and all that. Everything is management. Well, at the end of the day, we wish our boys luck. I told you I don't waste time watching local league and all that, but for crying out loud, I'm a Nigerian. I must support my country. But let them play good football that would make us continue to have
spend time to watch English
and get us to qualify, by the way.
Yeah, get us to qualify, you know. And we hope we'll go beyond the group stages when we get there.
It's a long way.
Talking about management,
you were talking about this. Yeah.
Former Abia State man was saying that really there were rumors about lawmakers wanting to oust Akpabio were not unfounded. The story is about management, procedural matters. How to go about, you know, that's why I mentioned management.
I think he gave some reasons. One is that the committee appointment, and also that there is not enough consultative.
Exactly. So, they think he's rather going solo about some of these things. The Senate leader, Bamide Lokbemi, was mentioned, you know, as having some whatever
issues.
But the point is, I want to say that this Senate has so far delivered in terms of not going into, you know, too much disagreement with the presidency. You know, some of us who are in journalism think that journalism is best served when you are against people who are in government. Constructive criticism is very important.
It is.
Because we must get them to...
They seem to be concentrating more on legislative matters.
That's it, you know. They need to be more proactive and prove to the electorate. Because they'll tell you that the parliamentarians are Nigerians' most visible representatives in a democracy. Each of them has a catchment that is taken to Abuja or the State House of Assembly to promote their interest. So you must never do things that leave your people in the lurch. It's very important. I'm talking about management style again. Could the Wike style have, you know, done more, brought about more smoothness between him and the people he gets into, you know, some of these altercations with? I asked a question. I'm not judging the man. Management is everything. You know, at a finishing school where I was a lecturer way back, they would ask you, why don't you learn how to tell a man to go to hell in a way that he looks forward to the trip? You can get most of what you want if you know how to talk. So management style in all of these maybe would need to be looked into. But I liked it yesterday when Wike pronounced that nobody's above the law, you know. The soldiers, I mean, soldiers are my friend all the time. And not just because I had a brother, my younger brother, who was in the army, you know, unfortunately died. But because they have sworn, they make the supreme sacrifice for the nation. We must respect them all the time. But again, you must let them know that they're not above the law. Once soldiers begin to think they're above the law, cacophony, chaos stares you in the face. Because they will tell you they are masters at violence. I think it was Babangida way back. I said, come on, I'm a manager of violence. You want to intimidate me? That was either to labor unions or whoever. And Ike Wachuku at the time, when he was the information minister in Lagos, said, look, I'm a regular combatant. You better watch what you tell me. So soldiers would always have that, seemingly ego-driven. It is their nature. They are trained to think like that.
So you have to.
But those were naval officers, by the way.
Yeah.
Those were naval officers.
Yeah,
naval officers, they fight hard. Navy.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Navy. When you hear them on waters, if you see them on land fight, they don't fight to remain fight too, But the point is, join over these things would always help. The altercations are not the best we can have.
Absolutely.
They're not.
And there are two more things I wanted you to look at.
Quickly,
NAFDAC bans sachet alcohol, small bottles from December 2025, and raised to 500 billion. I mean, the threshold for banks battle the clock.
Yeah, they want to meet the recapitalization deadline. But I got information that some of them may even have achieved it.
Of course.
No, some of them have.
They have already. But while they battle it, we wish them luck. They are floating shares and all that. While they battle it, we must not lose sight of the end game, ensuring that depositors' monies are safe. Remember what happened way back in time when people, lost money because some banks were not, they were not liquid. They were cash-strapped, and then that became a big problem for banks. So ultimately, it is to our benefit that they stand on solid financial ground, to deliver.
And NAFDAC?
NAFDAC, yeah.
I know it's December time, so they're trying to prevent.
It has been
all
for quite some time.
But the problem has been the implementation.
And the Senate last week, I think last week or earlier this week, we read that the Senate is saying don't shift the date again, that they should enforce now.
I support them, but on a jocular note, when Ubulokiti palm wine is eventually put in those small kegs of gunpowder, that's where he comes from. He's denying you guys something really delicious.
It won't, because when you bottle it, it loses something.
Yeah.
It loses something. Remember, when you put palm wine in a keg, you have to puncture it just so that it could breathe.
So that otherwise it will burst.
You can bottle it.
They are wonderful.
You take something away from it.
They are the best in the country in terms of palm wine. His people.
No wonder.
But what NAFDAC is trying to do is to ensure that it is not so easy for you to get this thing, tuck it in your pocket and sip on the road and all that.
Especially during the season.
Yes.
And they call it Dirty December.
Dirty December. I plead with you to give me some of yourself so I can be like you for at least 5 minutes. You're so organized and orderly. But there's something about you. When you utter some statements, I begin to think that beyond this facade, in quotes, there's a man that
is dirty in December.
Victor, what man do you now? He said it, I didn't say it.
No. I'm just listening to both of you.
A man that is dirty in December. It's okay. PDP convention. 15,
no going back.
Remember,
they said that
supposed
no
to
going
be
back.
8th, that's Saturday, last Saturday. No going back. I mentioned the other time that the behemoth, the octopus, the dinosaur, that's what Ifeduku called them when he was talking to me when I was doing what you're doing now way back in time. So the PDP has hit the dinosaur scenario. The environment could not contain it anymore. I pray that's not what has happened to PDP. Because at the end of the day, we want people who will be in a position to hold the government to account beside us.
Do you think there is still PDP? That's the big question.
There is still something that looks like the PDP. There are people in the PDP for whom it is unthinkable to cross to any other party. They are still relishing their big organization that started from G34. Remember Alex Ekweme and the rest of them, how they put together.
I remember then that they said they will rule for 60
years. Yes.
Indeed.
I hope those have not become famous last words.
Anyway, so
noble to
we have to say thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
It's okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy your day.
Have a great day.
You too.